Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Florida.
Mathis 90 feet away with one out in the 10th. Christian Yelich. A much-needed huge win for the Marlins at this stage right now. In Miami, the Marlins getting ready to take on the Cincinnati Reds and finish off this 4-game set. Sandwiches, anybody? Lunch being served at the ballpark. Lots of things going on today at the ballpark. It is Bark at the Park Day, that's for sure. The rain outside chasing people in, a big crowd expected. Todd Frazier and the Reds facing Jacob Turner and the Fish, and of course Christian Yelich. Bobblehead day, Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton. Marlins pulled one out in the 10th. Again, walk-off winners. They lead Major League Baseball in those. But last night's win was a cathartic win, able to exercise some of those demons from Thursday night.
Don't expect me to explain that, cathartic, but it was a great win. It was one of those wins, I don't know if I would say the biggest of the year, but certainly needed by the Marlins last night.
And to do it, the Marlins aren't scoring runs right now. They had to do some little things right, and they did that in the 10th.
Yeah, anytime you have close games, and certainly the Marlins have had a ton of those, and you play a good team, you've got to do those little things. It was nice to see Jeff Mathis get things started with a hustle double. He does such a great job behind the plate. Offensively, good to see him get things going. How about the veteran Reed Johnson dropping down a beautiful sacrifice bunt? Couldn't have been placed in a better area. That moved Mathis over to third. It brought the infield in, and it set the stage for Christian Yelich, who got a hanging breaking ball and then lined it into right center for the game winner. 43rd one-run game for the Marlins, 16th extra inning game they've played, and as Rich mentioned, they're tied with the Pirates in 9 walk-off victories. So it's been that kind of year. A lot of fun last night.
It's been the kind of series that has featured dynamite starting pitching on both sides of the ball. And the starters in this one, the Marlins are hopeful that Jacob Turner is sharp, and he's going up against a guy that has had some success in the big leagues.
See, the last 2 starts for Jacob Turner, he's won each of those. First time in his career he's won 2 starts in a row. The 23-year-old drafted in 2009 in the first round goes up against a 26-year-old who was drafted out of college, Arizona State, also in that 09 draft. He's been a solid starter, gives up a lot of hits, but he works fast and he's in the strike zone.
And he's got a nice ERA as well. When we get back, talking bobbleheads, a live chat with Mr. Bobblehead himself. It's Christian Yelich's day, and we're just here to watch. Let's go down below. Craig Minervini with a very special guest.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. Christian, a big win last night for your ball club. How big?
Yeah, I mean, that's already in the past for us, so it's already about today and going out and playing well today and trying to get another win, split the series with these guys.
When you look against Mike Leake, what's the approach against this guy tonight?
Hey, just get a good pitch. You know, he's the kind of guy that tries to get you to swing at his pitch, so you got to get yours, and when you do, you can't miss it.
Bobblehead day today, too. A lot of fans enjoying your bobblehead.
Yeah, how about that?
Have some fun out there today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, one thing about Mike Leake, great control, and this guy here has got a great eye. Back to you, Rich.
All right, thank you, Craig. Well, there's a youngster, got his bobblehead, got a great seat. He's just waiting for first pitch. And you know what? It's coming up in the series finale. Jacob Turner takes the hill. The Reds and the Marlins. Can the Reds get a split before they head to Pittsburgh? We'll find out next. Toyota. Hey, let's go places. By AT&T, U versus TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 800-PICK AT&T, mobilizing your world. By Checkers. Checkers brings big flavor for a small price. Beat your craving for quality for only $1. Cha-ching. And by your South Florida Honda dealers and SFHondaDealers.com. Bobblehead Museum has a new tenant, so to speak. Christian Yelich moved in last night. His bobblehead day is today, and a big day for Jacob Turner as he takes the mound. And JM Lexus brings you the Reds lineup. Billy Hamilton's in center field. Jay Bruce is in right. Todd Frazier at first. Devin Mesoraco in the cleanup spot. Ryan Ludwig has hurt the Marlins in this series. Skip Schumacher at second. Christopher Negron at third. Zach Cozart, the shortstop. Pitch-a-penny brings you a first pitch. And Jacob Turner misses outside to Billy Hamilton. Hamilton, Jay Bruce, Todd Frazier, Hamilton the speedster. Last night a big strikeout in the 10th by Mike Dunn, getting Hamilton after Chris Heisey had a one-out triple. Dunn came in, struck out Hamilton, struck out Bruce, and went on to pick up his 9th win of the season. Turner looking for win number 5.
I think we've seen too, Rich, in this series, the importance of trying to keep that guy off the bases, Billy Hamilton, because when he gets on the bases, he just creates some problems.
Blazing speed. He put up prolific stolen base numbers in the minor leagues. He's having a terrific rookie year. Bouncer up the middle. Valdespin gobbles it up and gets the out. Good way to start for Jacob Turner. Miami's defense brought to you by Ram today.
And there it is in the outfield. You have Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton. You've seen that one before. Casey McGee, Echeverria on the left side. Valdespin continues to be hot offensively and defensively. Garrett Jones at first. Jeff Mathis once again behind the plate. What a big hit he got last night.
Get over there.
Another tapper right side. Turner scoops and gets to the bag. Nice play by Jake. Two ground ball outs to start his day.
Number one gets a big bat on one pitch and makes a good play. Jacob Turner over, picks it, takes the out himself.
Todd Frazier now. If you look up and down the Reds lineup, there really isn't a hitter that's had a great series. And I guess the same could be said looking up and down Miami's lineup. This has been 3 low-scoring games. 3 games where starting pitching and bullpen have been at a premium. And the Marlins 2-1 winners last night. Of course, they lost that first game in controversial style 3-1. The Reds beat them Friday night 5-2. The Reds offense sputtering since the All-Star break. But they have such great starting pitching and such a terrific bullpen that Brian Price and the Reds sit at 500 right now. And if they can get Brandon Phillips back, if somehow Joey Votto gets back from his quad injury, the Reds should be able to make a run. Frazier rips it into left field for a base hit.
Well, they've been in so many games, and mainly because of that pitching, because we've talked about their batting average since the All-Star break coming into this game, 192. But their All-Star, Todd Frazier, gets a 2-out base hit.
There's enough thunder in this lineup to tread water. At least that's the feeling from Brian Price and from the Reds. You've got Frazier, as you noted, an All-Star. Mesoraco stands in. He's an All-Star. Jay Bruce is having an off year, but if he could flip the switch and all of a sudden be productive. You've got Ryan Ludwig in there as well. But it's a hyper-competitive race, certainly in the Central. Frazier's running. Turner steps off. The throw to Valdespin, and they've got Frazier in a rundown. And the flip, he's tagged and out. The Reds getting a little over-anxious on the bases, and Frazier caught stealing. Nice job by Turner to recognize that and react. Christian Yelich on his bobblehead day leads it off when we get back. Probably had to walk a little bit in the rain, but he's got his bobblehead. I don't know if that's her nickname or his, but it is a little scary. But what the heck? Like the hats, like the fact that they're into it. JM Lexus brings you the Marlins lineup. Christian Yelich, Jordani Valdespin, Giancarlo Stanton, Casey McGee, Garrett Jones, Marcell Ozuna, Danny Echeverria, Mathis back in there. Jeff in the 8th spot. Jacob Turner slotted 9th. You see that Valdespin has got 4 hits in this series. And here is Yelich, and here is Mike Leake.
As Niner mentioned on Marlins Live, you kind of focus at the 154 hits in 147 2/3 innings, but Leake has walked just 29, 114 strikeouts, and he's given Brian Price some quality starts, some quality innings.
He's a guy that knows how to pitch, and when you talk to scouts or you watch him pitch, he was a polished product when he arrived from Arizona State, and that doesn't happen very often, that you can jump right from college into a starting rotation and have success like Leake did.
Well, once again, Christian Yelich sees a 3-ball count, 3-1 pitch coming up.
And Yelich walks. And so he's aboard. The Reds pitch well. They play defense well. We've seen that in this series.
Yeah, they lead the league in defense. Let's find out who's playing first base for them today. How about Ludwig, Hamilton, and Jay Bruce in that outfield? Christopher Negron at third. Cozart's the shortstop. Schumacher is starting at second. Frazier, second start at first base in this series. And Mesoraco started every game behind the plate. Every game but one. Brian Pena started the first game. Christian Yelich, Rich, has had 9 3-ball counts on this homestand alone.
Yelich at first, and here's Valdespin with 4 hits in the series. And he takes outside from Leake. Last appearance by Leake, one of his best of the year. 7 2/3 innings of shutout ball against Arizona. He won the ball game 3-0. He struck out 8. He didn't walk anybody. In fact, he hasn't walked anybody in his last 2 starts until Yelich. And there's the first strike. Mark Wagner calling balls and strikes. Mike Winters over at first. Andy Fletcher at second. Tom Woodring is at third. This umpiring quartet got the full rotation on a 4-game series.
They've had their excitement.
They have. I think they've done a nice job in this series. Long wait, Leak to the plate. Valdespin, a ground ball. Diving stop there. Schumacher gets it and gets the out. Terrific play because Schumacher didn't have it in his glove, and he was able to find it and get a swift Valdespin at first.
Yeah, he's very fortunate that when he made the dive, the ball just kind of stayed underneath him. Sometimes you do that, and the ball squirts away, and it's an infield base hit. So he made a nice recovery. Yelich will get to scoring position. There's the ball, kind of stays right underneath him. He finds it and gets the out. A good play by a guy who's played all over. Second base, played all the outfield spots.
Now Giancarlo Stanton sporting a white sleeve. So a new, I don't think we've seen a white sleeve before. We've seen red, orange. We've seen blue. We've seen black. Of course, on the holidays, red, white, and blue. Right now, he's not worried about that. He's worried about Mike Leake, who misses out with a fastball.
Yeah, a lot of times with the red-orange top, he'll go with that blue sleeve. So a little different look. The man who leads the league in home runs and RBIs.
Last 4 games, he's had really good swings. Had homered in 3 straight before last night, and just missed a 4th straight when he hit a ball off the top of the wall in right field. Seems to be a little more aggressive earlier in counts over this past 4 or 5 day window.
Which I know you and I have talked about that, because a lot of times early in counts are the best pitches he sees.
Yelich at second. We're just underway. Stanton hits a rocket. Now Brett Butler, the third base coach, is standing where no third base coach ever stands, and with good reason. That ball right there that Stanton hit, that was about 10 feet from Butler. But where else are you going to stand for Stanton when you have a runner at second? Because he's got to be able to send the runner or stop the runner, but standing out in the third base coach's box is not a real smart thing to do. Stanton swings and misses.
There's that good slider from Mike Leake. Get ahead, expand the zone, and he expanded the zone and was able to get Giancarlo. Yeah, Brett Butler takes a more normal stance now with Casey McGee up there. He's closer to the coach's box.
And that's no disrespect to McGee. It's just that Stanton leads the universe in exit speed off the bat, and McGee has a much different approach. He's a spray hitter up the middle into the gaps. Mike Leake gets ahead, a 91-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's 0-1. McGee a couple hits in the series.
Been able to maintain that batting average over 300.
Has 4 walks in the series. That one kicks away. Yelich around third. Takes a look at the plate. Mesoraco retrieves it. And it's 1-1. So Yelich now 90 feet away. Mesoraco had that slider explode on him in the dirt.
Boy, I mean, he set up like he wanted a fastball in, and the slider away. He may have been crossed up on that.
I think you're right. It goes as a wild pitch,
because you saw how he said catcher doesn't set up there for a slider.
McGee a bouncer to third. Frazier, or rather Negron, backing up, fires across to Frazier, and the Marlins are done in the first. Park at the park. The Dogs are here. So are the Marlins and the Reds.
Women's Baseball es presentado en español vía SAP por Kendall y West Kendall Toyota.
Jacob Turner in Miami taking on the Cincinnati Reds. He's got Devin Mesoraco, Ryan Ludwig, and Skip Schumacher. Remember, the first ended for the Reds when Frazier was picked off first base. And Mesoraco resumes it at bat and lines it into left field. That's for a hitter, a guy that's been up there and had an inning end, and he comes back up. He's all ready to go. And Mesoraco with a base hit. Marlins baseball is better when you share it with your friends. Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Visit On Cloud Konai. It's a blog for an offbeat look at the fish. Go to marlins.com/connect. You'll also get a full roster of Marlin players who are on Twitter.
You and I, Rich, before the game, we had a nice conversation with Jeff Mathis talking about this Reds offense. And he told us about Jacob Turner. Yes, he needs to establish that fastball, get command of that, but also the slider and curveball, because the Reds are such an aggressive team, especially on the fastball, and you saw that from Mesoraco.
Ludwig, some big hits in this series. Was not in the lineup yesterday, but he certainly hurt the Marlins on Thursday night after that controversial run scored to tie the game. Ludwig really made it hurt with a 2-run single, and the Reds won the game 3-1. And then following on Friday night, Ludwig a 2-run double that greeted Chris Hatcher out of the bullpen and ruined the night of Jared Cozart making his Marlins debut. Pitched well his first 5 innings, but ran into trouble in the 6th. So we had a trend on a guy that's been around and done a lot of things. He had driven in just 4 runs in the previous 23. But the hits I just described were certainly big ones for the Reds in the first 2 games.
Well, without Votto and Phillips, they're certainly going to lean on him for some more of that production.
Turner with a fastball strike and a 2-2 count. Ludwig, 35-year-old, a bat boy when he was a kid with his brother Eric for the Las Vegas Stars, as they were called back then. AAA team in Las Vegas. 2-2 pitch. It stays at 2-2. For Turner, a chance to win 3 consecutive starts. As Mike Redmond said on Marlins Live today, when the Marlins acquired Jared Cozart, he went into Turner's spot in the rotation, but on the same day Henderson Alvarez went on the DL with shoulder inflammation. Redmond said for a guy like Turner, he's got to embrace every start as an opportunity to keep that spot in the rotation. There's Cozart,
who we did find out matched up a number of times in some district games in Texas in high school against Nathan Eovaldi.
And guess what? His next start against these Reds, or excuse me, against the Pirates and Edinson Volquez on Thursday night. And Ludwig out in front. There's the breaking ball that you talked about that Mathis wanted to incorporate.
They had him thinking hard stuff. We've seen sliders and curves. Good slider to get Ryan Ludwig. You mentioned his brother Eric Ludwig, who for 13 games was a Marlin back in 1998.
Skip Schumacher now. Mesoraco is still at first. And Turner misses away. Very much like with Brad Hand. When people talk about Jacob Turner, they'll say, you know what, it's in there. The stuff is in there. The Marlins saw him have great success when he arrived and first started. Heck, his first 8 starts of last year, he was 3-1 with a 2.33 ERA.
I think we're slowly seeing the confidence build in Jacob Turner, which is important. I think Jeff Mathis does a good job in keeping his mound presence intact and focused.
Misses to Schumacher, and it's 3-0. Chuck Hernandez watching on. We did have a chance to chat with Nathan Eovaldi about last night's start and the increase in velocity. And as we suspected, it was a Chuck Hernandez, Nathan Eovaldi chat and bullpen session that brought it out. Hernandez suggested to Eovaldi that he lengthen his stride and his reach, so to speak. And Eovaldi did that, and he said in the bullpen the ball was just exploding. And a little extra stride lengthened everything out. He lived at 98 all night. Schumacher walks. And Turner now in a first and second and one out situation.
You know, that's a tough thing to do, make an adjustment like that and still maintain the command. And certainly Eovaldi had the command. He walked just 2, and we saw that electric fastball all night. The last pitch he threw, his 97th pitch last night, was 98 miles an hour.
Christopher Negron now. Brandon Phillips out. It's kind of been a patchwork infield with a lot of moving pieces for Brian Price. A variety of guys have played second. Fly ball right field, pretty well hit. Stanton a long run and a reach. He got it! He got it! On the track! Stanton's throw into the infield. What a play!
The big wide receiver made a touchdown grab. Listen to the crowd giving him a great ovation. They just saw a spectacular play by Giancarlo Stanton. He does more than just hit home runs. Shading into right center. He had a long way to go, and this ball was fair, too, into that right field corner. He popped up and made a throw, just couldn't complete the double play.
Enormous play, saving probably 2 runs. And now Turner will try to make it pay off and get Zach Kozar.
Well, you're going to see this one time after time tonight. Total stretching out, then the pop-up slide to come back in, have the presence of mind, knowing that there were a couple of base runners on, and he might be able to double somebody off.
Turner falls behind 2-0 to Kozar, and right now the fastball command is not there for Jacob Turner.
Mike Leake, the pitcher who's on deck, not a bad hitter either.
Line into left field, that's a base hit. Yelich to cut it off. He does. A run will score, and the Reds are on the board.
And it's one thing that has been missing from the Marlins this entire series, that big hit. The Reds have got different guys that have come up with that big hit. You were talking about Ludwig, and early in this one, it's their shortstop, Zach Kozar, with a big hit to drive in their first run.
Brian Price is out to talk to the second base umpire. When rounding second, it looked like Skip Schumacher may have bumped into either Echeverria or Valdespin. Probably it was Valdespin. I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
And I was a little surprised that Schumacher didn't end up at third base. So we'll have to see.
Now it's got to be the umpire's opinion that he would have had a fair shot at third base. Not that, hey, I just bumped into a guy and was making a turn and not an aggressive turn. This is not a reviewable play. It cannot be looked at on replay and decided. Anything that has the word obstruction or interference in it is not a reviewable play. Brian Price continues his chat with Mike Leake at the plate. But it's a big hit for the Reds. It erases a lot of the momentum of the catch by Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, evidently Brian Price is satisfied with his conversation that he had with Andy Fletcher. Now he goes over and give Schumacher a little explanation.
Here is Leak, and as Tommy pointed out, Leak can hurt you with the bat. Chops it to Echeverria. Little flip to Valdespin, and the Reds are done, but they get a run and lead this game 1-0. Broadcasting the U.S. Armed Forces serving in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea. Thanks for being with us on a Sunday, a rainy Sunday in Miami. It's Bark at the Park Day, so there's plenty of dogs here. The Reds and the Marlins are two teams that are in that wild card hunt, though not at the head of the pack, certainly in the conversation.
Well, as always, Rich, we salute the troops and appreciate everything that you do.
Mike Leake has got the rosin on the side of the cap. Garrett Jones awaits. Jones pulls the first pitch, breaks his bat. Schumacher throws and gets him. Going out here in the second. Get your fan photos out, tweet them right now, and if you hashtag them FL Fan Photo, you could be the AT&T Fan Photo. Hopefully the blue ribbon panel has.
Look at that, a selfie. Come on, look up, look up.
The Humane Society, of course, benefits from all the tickets that are sold for the dogs and for the owners. They're all up in that upper deck down the first base side.
I trust Craig will find his way up there during the game. Got the bobblehead. Look at that.
It is Christian Yelich bobblehead day. I think the dog would rather have a Scooby snack than a bobblehead at this point. A strike to Ozuna, and it's been a tough series for Ozuna.
Marcell Ozuna just 1 for 10 in the series with 6 strikeouts. So you're right, it's been a rough one for him.
Takes away, and on the homestand, you stretch it out into the National Series. He's been hunting for hits on this whole stand, but he gets a walk and he's aboard at first. And now let's see if the Marlins can get something rolling here with 1 out. Echeverria and then Mathis.
We bring this up every once in a while, and you point it out when you have ingredients for a hit and run. With 1 out, you've got a little speed at first. You've got Echeverria, who hits the ball well the other way as the hitter. Now a lot depends on how the count goes. Strike one, if all of a sudden Leake gets strike two, then you rule it out, and you're also not going to do it 0-1. Kind of see how the count goes.
3 stolen bases. Ozuna's not been caught this year. And Chavarria fouls it back. It's 0-2. Baseball breaking out all over this land. Starting in the East, the Mets and the Giants are underway. That game has raced to the 3rd already. San Francisco and New York are scoreless. Mets got another nice performance from Jacob deGrom last night.
Look at that, a couple of new Christian Yelich fans right there.
Phillies and Nationals are underway in D.C. And that's scoreless in the top of the 1st.
Yeah, Jacob deGrom, 7 1/3. Gave up just 4 hits and 2 runs. He's 6-5 with a 2.77 ERA now. Well, we've seen a little bit of Mike Leake. Let's give you a scouting report. Fastball cuts and sinks. The slider is late breaking. He threw a good one to strike out Giancarlo, and we've seen that he doesn't like to waste too much time out there. 5'10", 190. Not a big guy.
Had a fine year last year. Leake made 31 starts. Was 14-7 and a 3.37 ERA. As we noted, a guy that went right to the big leagues. He did get down to the minor leagues for a couple of games and then was called right back up. That was in 2011. And Chavarria pulls a ground ball. Negron gets it out there. The relay is in time. And Mike Leake spins a double play and escapes the second. Reds and Marlins. Cincinnati up a run. One 1-0. Cincinnati on top. Let's check in with Craig Minervini.
Thank you, Rich. The Marlins defense is still ranked toward the bottom of the National League standings. They're 13th coming into this game. But when you look at the numbers a little closer, big improvement the last couple of months. Plays like this from Giancarlo Stanton in this ball game. We've seen the infield play better. A lot of double plays turned, among the best in the league in the last couple of months. And the overall numbers reflect that. Since June 1st, The Marlins are 4th in the National League overall, technically 14th before that, actually even a fraction better than the Reds since June 1st. Talked to Perry Hill about it. He said, we're not there yet. We are improving, and he said getting repetitions with the guys really helps. They've got a lot of moving parts, as Rich likes to say, in the Marlin infield, especially over at second base. Although Perry did say one thing with the Marlins system, in certain ground balls they throw it to the back of the bag, front of the bag, and so on. Because of their system, having a new guy in at least helps on turning double plays because it's the same spot you throw the ball to. But much better, as the numbers reflect. That's 4th in the league, and that's a 2-month span. Good to see.
Very good to see. Billy Hamilton lines one into left field. That's a base hit. And that's trouble because you've got a supreme base stealer in Hamilton aboard with 42 stolen bases, and it leads off the 3rd for Cincinnati, who got a run in the 2nd. Hamilton was kind of Dusty Baker's secret weapon last year in August and September as a pinch runner. Last year the Reds finished 90 and 72. They played in the wild card game. They didn't win the Central. They were 3rd in the Central, and they lost in Pittsburgh in that wild card game. And Hamilton last year ended up stealing 13 bases, and he had just 19 at bats. So late innings in September, he was a nice piece to have down the stretch.
And he was caught just one time last year.
Marlins pitch out with Jay Bruce at the plate. They count 1-0. And that's been an issue for Jacob Turner, especially this year.
You know, to Craig's point, talking about the defense, Perry Hill has his system, and he works tirelessly with each infielder. They have their schedule before batting practice, probably 2 o'clock, 2:30 maybe. And he alternates which guys come out and work on certain things.
Hamilton runs, pitches out. Mathis throw, not nearly in time. 12 of 12 now are runners off of Jacob Turner.
Well, not much defense for that with the jump that he got. But yeah, it's a system that Perry Hill has, and the guys go with it, and they're out here at certain times. We sometimes get the cameras on whoever's out working with Perry Hill early.
And Kike Hernandez yesterday, Perry Hill changing his footwork, trying to get him a little more narrow, trying to get him a little wider. And he said Kike is a hopper and a skipper, and feels like just a few sessions with him will smooth out that footwork. Breaking ball misses in to Jay Bruce. How can you not think Men in Black? Especially with that shirt. 3-1 pitch into left field. It's a base hit. Hamilton around third. They're going to send him. Yelich's throw is cut, and the Reds have another run, and that's Billy Hamilton right there. That was a hard shot. He actually had to hold up to make sure it went through to left, and then there was no doubt that he was going to score.
Well, the stolen base set that up. The 3-1 count set that up, and all of a sudden Jacob Turner had to give in to Jay Bruce. Got the fastball up, and Bruce had a big opening over there into left field. And there are no left fielders that are going to throw Billy Hamilton out there. The key is that Christian Yelich kept that throw down, and it was cut off to keep Bruce at first base.
Mike Redmond is on his way out, and He's going to talk to the third base umpire. And I suspect maybe the Marlins replay room has seen something. Redmond is out and in discussion and looking back as Rob Leary is on the phone. Pat Shine is the Marlins replay guy.
I would guess he's questioning if Billy Hamilton touched third or not. That would seem to me be the only question he could have to Tom Woodring, the young umpire.
Nothing yet, and maybe not a definitive look. Here's what we have. Boy, that's
but Woodring was right there. I mean, he's right there looking, but it was very close.
But Redmond had to go out to start the process to allow the video room to look. And Bruce runs. Mathis throws.
Slow to the plate. Johnny Bench isn't going to throw anybody out if he stays that slow to the plate. And it's just not fair to any catcher. And the Reds are going to do this all day. 11 batters Jacob Turner has faced, 6 base runners. And even from his knees, Mathis tries everything. But you even knew they were going to try this early in the game when Frazier was picked off. Remember, he took off, but took off too soon.
And that actually does count as a caught stealing. So for Turner now, I guess that's what, 13 of 14 base stealers have been successful this year. It's really tough to be a starting pitcher in the big leagues and be successful and have that type of percentage, because teams know it and they will exploit it. And when you're not throwing strikes, and Turner's not, the Reds have taken advantage. 2 hits, 2 stolen bases in the inning.
He just does not have the command that we saw him have in his previous 2 starts. And falling behind an aggressive team, aggressive swinging team, can get you in some trouble.
Catches the plate. And it's 3-2. Frazier singled back in the first. Jay Bruce at second. Jam shot, tough play. Etch, bare hands. Whoa!
Wow!
Etch
every night. He puts on a show every night.
Channeling his inner Omar Vizquel with a barehand play.
Forget about the leather. Let me just barehand it. That was really the only shot he had to get Frazier. Wow.
Now Miami, with Mesoraco up, is going to have to bring the infield in. You've got the cleanup hitter Mesoraco, who singled on a line drive to left back in the second.
You would assume that Jay Bruce, the runner at third, would be going on contact on a ground ball, even if it's at an infield.
Breaking ball for a strike, and it's 1-1. That one backed him up, and the hat popped right off of Mesoraco. This is one of those games, if you're following on the at-bat app and you pull up the stats, and you'll look at Turner and you'll see he's walked just 1, but the ball strike ratio is a mess right now. 23 balls, 21 strikes, 44 pitches.
And the tough part and the frustrating part, because we've seen Jacob Turner when he is in the strike zone, his stuff is good enough at this level. Fastball, he keeps it down. It's in the the low 90, 92 to 94. He's got a good slider. His breaking balls, curveball is pretty good.
Well, if he can get out of this and keep the score 2-0. Swing and a miss. And a big breaking ball, and that's the stuff you talked about. We apologize for the outburst after the strikeout from home plate.
You want to have somebody just yell, "Trust it." Don't try to trick them. Go right after him. Trust your stuff. You hear that all the time.
You don't want to have someone yell what Mesoraco yelled.
No.
Ludwig now. Well, Ludwig has had big hits in the series. Turner leaning on that slider. And first pitch strikes, just 4 of 14. Ludwig right center. Ozuna on the run. He won't get it. And another big hit for Ryan Ludwig. Was thinking 3 and holds it 2. Ryan Ludwig has been big in this series for the Reds.
Now 5 RBIs in this series for Ryan Ludwig. Fastball, center cut, and he drives it center cut off the Stanley sign. By the time it's chased down, third run comes in. The tough part too, Rich, talked about the Marlins offense. Most runs they've scored in a game in this series has been 2.
And that puts a lot of pressure on the Jacob Turners and the Nathan Eovaldi's, the Jared Cozarts and the Tom Kohlers who have started this series.
You even go back the last 2 games of the National Series, the Marlins did win one of those, but they scored just 3 runs in each of those. So all of a sudden you get down by 3 early. The good news is that it is early.
Schumacher. And a breaking ball in the dirt goes to the screen. Wild pitch.
And another first pitch ball.
You know, I don't know if Mathis got crossed up, but he did not have the glove turned. Valdespin to first in time, but Cincinnati adds 2 and leads it 3-0. popcorn or those Scooby snacks. Tough to tell. But they sure taste good. And a nice cap as well. Old school Marlins cap.
What kind of tasty bits are those?
You know, I'm trying to figure out. First thought popcorn, then maybe dog treats. They do have treats here at the park for the dogs. Jeff Mathis.
He gave us all a treat last night with that leadoff double.
Jacob Turner and then Christian Yelich, top of the order for Miami. Facing Mike Leake and now down 3-0. Mathis in the 10th hooked the ball to the left of the third baseman last night. And he drives this one to the gap left center field. It's well hit and it's over the head of Ludwig. It goes to the wall. Mathis has got pretty good speed, but he's going to stop there. Hamilton racing over from center got to it. And Jeff Mathis, who doubled in his final at bat last night, doubles here.
Off a slider, not a bad pitch. You see the location. Good swing by Jeff Mathis, and I think the left fielder Ryan Ludwig was surprised at how far this ball carried. And it did carry over his head. Mathis was thinking 3, but he had the play right in front of him. Nice, hoping that Jacob Turner can move him over to third base the way Reed Johnson did last night.
Turner's bunt, Leake has it, bobbles and drops it. Everybody's safe. It brought him towards third and made getting the out a little more enticing.
Well, that's right, because the play was right there and he was moving that way. He thought, okay, I can get this out, but I also think he thought I have to hurry it a little bit. He had time. He bobbled. Generally, he's a pretty good athlete. We talked about that earlier. Good job by Jacob Turner to get the ball down, and now everybody's safe. Be a sacrifice and then an error charge to Mike Leake.
And the Marlins have an opportunity. As you pointed out, the Reds have taken advantage of their opportunities in this series. They haven't been scalding the ball, and neither have the Marlins. Yelich takes a strike. Yelich walked back in the first. Valdespin is on deck. Infield playing for 2. A ground ball at least scores a run. Plate discipline of Christian Yelich has been terrific this year. His on-base percentage, 356. Slugging is over 400. Drew his 48th walk. Leading off the first.
Well, his MO, so to speak, was just like that in the minor leagues, too. Always had on-base percentage near 400.
He's got a 3-1 pitch to swing at here. Marlins are down 3-0. Mike Leake does give up hits. In fact, he gives up a lot of them. And he walks Yelich again. Bags loaded, and there's nobody out.
This is the guy in this series the Marlins want up there. The Marlins are 4 for 17 in this series. With runners in scoring position, Jordani Valdespin is 2 for 2. So he has 2 of those 4.
Stanton is on deck. Valdespin against Leake. Remember, it's Turner running at second. Mathis at third, Yelich at first. Leake is able to give up an enormous amount of hits and still have a nice ERA because he manages the game so well. He's comfortable with runners on base.
But he's a little out of things right now because he's walked 3. And you talked about his last couple of starts, hadn't walked anybody, and he's walked 3 today.
Little pop down the left field line. That's into the seats. Bases filled with fish. Valdespin steps in. Infield back. 1-1 coming. Fastball, and Valdespin got tied up.
Looks like Leake is trying to stay up with his fastball. Big man on deck, Carlo.
Reds have jumped on Jacob Turner for 3 early runs. Miami with an opportunity against Mike Leake. One, 2. It's up. Reds winners in the first 2 games of the series. Miami walked off in 10 innings last night. Chance to split the series and bring the Marlins back even with the Reds. 2 teams who are certainly not at the front of the line in the wild card, but in the conversation. 2-2 coming. In the dirt as Araujo smothers it.
Well, you really have the feeling as a hitter, and obviously you have to be ready with 2 strikes in the bases loaded, no out situation. But with Leake missing badly with that breaking ball, you have the feeling he's going to come with that high fastball again.
It's amazing. Both pitchers, ball strike ratio, more balls than strikes. 3-2 coming. Bags loaded, nobody out. Valdespin a chopper, the throw home, out there, the relay, safe there. And the Reds may challenge. Frazier may have injured himself as well as he is doubled over near the bag. The out was a force at the plate. Frazier was close to the bag at first, but decided to come home right away.
Well, he was thinking double play. If he steps on the bag, it becomes a tag play at home. But he goes and gets the force out. The relay. Oh, his foot was on the bag. That's what it looks like happened. Looks like Valdespin steps right on the bag, but his foot was part of the bag. Right there.
Reds in communication with their replay room. Brian Price making nice with Mike Winters, exchanging pleasantries. It's such a different feel now when a manager goes out on the field. And the signal comes that either they didn't have conclusive evidence or Jay Bell said, hey, they got it.
No, they are going
to take it.
They are going to take a shot. Looked like Jay Bell said challenge it. So Jay Bell, in this case, the relay man for Brian Price. Throw a little low, but Mesoraco comes up.
Well, he stepped right on his foot, which was in front of the bag. Let's see if ball in back of glove. He looks out.
Wow. See, at first base, you don't have to allow a lane to the bag. You can put your foot right on the bag.
Is foot part of the bag if the foot's on the bag?
I would say yes. I would say foot's part of the bag. It looks bang bang, but
you know, the look on going down the baseline looks like it's a dead heat. The look coming from the outfield looked like the ball might have beat him, but again, is there enough to overturn?
Well, if ever the Marlins needed the call to stand, it's now. They've not had good luck in this series. They need a little luck. They'd like the call to stand because Giancarlo would come up with bases loaded as opposed to and 1 out as opposed to 2nd and 3rd and 2 out.
You can see Mike Redmond right now.
The bottom line, and this is what they have to see in New York, is it clear and conclusive evidence? And I don't see that. It looks like it could have gone either way.
Safe.
As every Marlins fan breathes a sigh of relief.
And we'll find out if the call is confirmed or stands. Confirmed means they felt he was safe, and it stands.
Yeah, so it was inconclusive.
Inconclusive. And as you pointed out, that really changes this at bat now for Stanton because there's no place to put him.
And Frazier and Valdespin are talking down there. Frazier saying, sorry, I had my foot on the bag.
Well, Leake handled Stanton back in the first. He got him to chase a slider. Bags are loaded. 1 out. And a first pitch fastball, strike 1. 5 career grand slams for Giancarlo Stanton. The National League leader in home runs with 26. Jacob Turner resides at 3rd. Great speed with Yelich at 2nd. Valdespin is at 1st. Reds holding a 3-0 lead. Miami with an opportunity. 1 out in the 3rd. Stanton fouls one off his foot.
Hard two-seamer in. He got a double play on a pitch just like that back in the 2nd inning from the Danny Echeverria. He could go back in there. There's that two-seamer in. Or he could go that slider off the plate to expand the zone.
And the slider off the plate is the pitch that's given Stanton trouble the last 2-3 weeks. It's prompted him to take batting practice in the cage only indoors against the slider pitching machine. And for Stanton, it has worked. He had homered in 3 consecutive games going into last night, and he hit a pitch off the top of the wall in right field for a double. But he did chase a leak slider that was out for a strikeout his first at bat.
And I think we saw signs of that in the last game of that National Series when he took a Drew Storen slider to right field and hit it out into the Marlins bullpen.
One, two. Slider, got him. Leake has struck Stanton out twice, and it's up to Casey McGee now if Miami is going to squeeze anything out of this inning.
Well, here it comes, and he keeps it down. Ankle high. It starts off, it looks enticing, but then drops a little bit and then moves away. Perfect pitch by Mike Leake.
Now McGee. Leake misses in to McGee, who bounced to 3rd, back in the 1st. McGee, one of the best with runners in scoring position. through the first 3.5 months of the season. Those hits have slowed at the end of July and on in here to August. Ball and a strike.
If ever the Marlins needed Casey McGee to get that RBI feel back, it's right here.
Bouncer up the middle, and the Reds escape. Miami had them loaded with nobody out, and they get nothing. 3-0 Cincinnati. They've made it. We'll bark at the park. Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
He's got a nice seat. Got all his goodies with him. Let's check in with Craig Minervini.
Thank you, Rich. Whether by umpire review or challenges, certainly the men in black, if they wear black, up in New York, certainly had a big role in the series. In fact, the team that's gotten the big call has won all the games so far in the series. You look at the challenges overall, the Marlins are now tied at the major league level with the Yankees for the best percentage on challenges this year. Yankees are on a good little roll, 16 out of 21, 76%. The Reds have not fared well on challenges. Get another look at that at 29%. St. Louis is a mystery at 4 for 19, overturned 21%. The major league average, as you see in the bottom, is near 50% at 47.5%. But for the Marlins, 16 for 21, not bad, led by Pat Shine in the video room.
Will there be an award named for that?
It should be. It's a big role. And I wonder if teams are going to look at it in the offseason to wonder how they could be better at it, because it really is a big factor, as we've seen.
Well, that's why the Marlins hired Shine, because he's a baseball coach. He's a baseball guy. He and Mike Redmond know each other from their college days at Gonzaga. And so he put a baseball guy back there, and all of a sudden he's looking at stuff that, as that pitch misses in and Chris Negron walks. Jacob Turner walking the leadoff man, the number 7 hitter, who comes in hitting at 222.
Right now, I think Jacob Turner has to be on a short leash. You can't allow, with the offense, and we saw what happened last inning, you just can't allow the Reds to put up more runs.
Zach Cozart and then Mike Leake. Our production truck, John Sulzer, is lobbying for the Tony Verna Award. CBS director who invented instant replay. Army-Navy game in '63. Runner goes. Big jump. Mathis throw. I mean, it's just not a good combination right now. Turner can't throw strikes and he can't hold runners.
Well, you got everybody on the Reds running too.
And the Reds have swiped 3 bases.
What takes away a double play possibility.
Now Cozart with the count 0-1. Left field, pretty deep. Ozuna over there. Runner tags. Ozuna has it and uncorks a throw to Echeverria. Holding second is Negron.
That's a good job, because if Yelich catches it moving the other way, the runner at second, Negron probably tags up and goes to third.
Marlins.com, one-stop shop, breaking news, tickets, sweepstakes, merchandise, and more. Emails, text alerts, all of that. Just go to Marlins.com and become a Marlins insider today. Cozart out. Leak is up. And he pops it up. And a quick out here. And now Turner will go after Billy Hamilton and try to pitch around, having Negron out at second with nobody out. Hamilton has bounced out, singled, stole a bag, and scored a run.
That's, I just thinking, it's only appropriate that today is Bark at the Park. Every club should have, in August, should have Bark at the Park, because August, they always say, the dog days.
Are there the dog days for everybody?
No, if you got about an 8-game lead, no, they're not.
Mathis smothers it. Up the middle, into center field. Hamilton plates another run. Billy Hamilton with 5 hits, and he won't be parked at first base long.
Yeah, how long do you think he's going to wait? He's probably going to go on the first pitch. Just past Jacob Turner. Couldn't quite reach back to get a glove on it. And another run for the Reds.
Jay Bruce is up. Bruce drove Hamilton home after he stole second in the third. 43 stolen bases for Hamilton. Palmetto 57 Volkswagen leaderboard. Putting balls in plays per swing. The Reds are very good at it. Turner ready. Hamilton started and then stopped. And Turner gets a strike. Of course, a lot of things going on in the head of Jay Bruce as well. He's got an elite speedster at first, but there's 2 outs, so he's also looking for something to hit. Not running. Miami pitches out.
Well, part of that, and you see Billy Hamilton most of the time when a pitcher pitches out, he gives it away. That was not the same delivery that Turner usually has. And so Hamilton picked that up right away.
So you've got to sell it's a normal delivery.
You got to go same delivery. He's trying to freeze him. He's trying to hold it a little longer.
One, not running. Up the middle into center field, a base hit. Hamilton will take third. And the Reds have met the corners. Miami's bullpen is active in a 4-0 Cincinnati lead. And here comes Frazier.
Reds today, of course, they've had a lot of opportunities. Here we are, just the top of the 4th inning. The Reds are 4 for 11. So they've had 11 opportunities with runners in scoring position. On the other side of the coin, Marlins are 0 for 5.
You've got speed at the corners. Bruce stole his 10th bag back in the 3rd. He's been caught twice this year. Frazier's at the plate. He is singled and bounced out. Copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced, retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Breaking ball clobbered into center field. Ozuna picks it up. Bruce around second, throw to third is in time. He's out. Great throw by Ozuna, but Cincinnati continues to pile on the Marlins. Todd Frazier with an RBI hit. It's 5-0. your money back guarantee. Marlins Park. Mr. Red Legs in person. Got the cap, got the mustache, and needs a little help to eat, but he's getting it done. And you notice, Tommy, that Rosie's nowhere to be seen.
That's right. Might be munching on some Skyline chili.
Well, Miami is in a 5-0 hole right now against Mike Leake. Garrett Jones, Marcell Ozuna, and Adeiny Echeverria. A great opportunity for Miami. They had the bags loaded and nobody out, and they had their 2, 3, 4 hitters up. Valdespin bounced into a fielder's choice. Stanton struck out. McGee bounced into a fielder's choice. And I talked about Leake, a guy that will give up hits, but is pretty good at managing games. Jones hits a ball to center field. Hamilton makes the catch. And the one thing you think about too with this ball game is that the Marlins and the Reds are going to play a 3-game series in Cincinnati. So you can fast forward, and this may be a rematch. It might be Jacob Turner against Mike Leake again in Cincinnati. Pitching matchups are out for Pittsburgh. Marlins open that series on Tuesday night. Remember, no Henderson Alvarez. He's on the disabled list. Ozuna's up. Brad Hand, Charlie Morton in game 1 in Pittsburgh. Tom Kohler, Jeff Locke. Locke a lefty on Wednesday. And then Edinson Volquez and Jared Kozar on Thursday.
Remember when the Pirates visited Miami back on June 13th? They were under 500. They were 32 and 34. They've played 10 games over since then.
Marlins Live will open it at 6:30 on Tuesday. And Ozuna strikes out. So Leake now with a 5-run cushion and in control. He's got Echeverria with 2 outs and nobody aboard. Echeverria, and that one is out of reach. Sam Dyson in Miami's pen. Echeverria slipped a bit as he tried to drop down a bunt. The Giants are clobbering the Mets midway through up at Citi Field, 6-0. The Nationals a 1-0 lead over the Phillies in the 4th.
Bartolo Colon may be thinking too much of trade rumors. He's getting knocked around pretty well by the Giants.
Meanwhile, Madison Bumgarner's given up just 1 hit. The Braves are in San Diego. A walk-off win in extras for the Padres last night. Padres have improved to just 10 under right now. They're 50 and 60. And the Braves tumble continues. Braves are just 5 over. And Atlanta now in the East has dropped 5 in a row and sits 2.5 behind the Nationals. It's an Aaron Harang, Tyson Ross game this afternoon in San Diego. Plenty of the local military there, a tradition for the Padres. 2-2. Echeverria gets through it and drills it in the gap. And that one's going to get to the wall. Etch will stop at second. A 2-out double. And that brings Mathis up.
Remember when Leake tried to come inside to get that double play, which he did in the second inning. He tried to come in again on Echeverria, and Etch really got to it quickly with his hands. Here's the pitch in. He opens up and really drove that ball well into left center. Talking about San Diego, Padres had a big walk-off single by Will Venable. 12th inning. Couple of 12-inning games on the West Coast last night. Dodgers. Hanley Ramirez. Walk-off home run.
Mathis doubled in the third. Took a low breaking ball and banged it in the gap. Remember, he had the double last night in 10th. And scored the winning run on a Christian Yelich hit. Oh, 1-2. All of a sudden, 3 consecutive hits. You go back to last night, his big double in the 10th inning. He doubled in the 3rd inning, and an RBI base hit here. Slider, flat, middle of the plate, and lined into left field. Brett Butler, a late stop sign, but Echeverria already was too far to go to stop, and he raced through it. And arrives at home plate. Watch this.
There's Brett Butler. Just as he's getting to the bag, though. So a little late. Go ahead and go for it. Marlins get on the scoreboard.
You see that more often with a player that has the play in front of him and has watched the ball go into left field and already gauged where the left fielder is. So Mathis with another hit. Miami finally has a run, and Kike Hernandez will get the at-bat against Leake. Hernandez still getting his feet wet in the big leagues. This is just his 2nd at-bat with the Marlins. Appeared in 24 games with the Astros.
By making this move, too, if the inning were to continue. Now, if he makes the last out, there's no worry about a double switch. But if the inning were to continue, and all of a sudden Valdespin gets up, you could make that double switch, because I know Mike Redmond wants to get as many innings out of Sam Dyson as possible.
Yelich on deck. Leake trying to get Hernandez to chase. Hernandez out of Puerto Rico. Astros 6th round pick in that 2009 draft. Both Mike Leake and Jacob Turner taken in the 1st round back to back in that draft.
Good job. He's run the count 3-2.
Sprays a ground ball up the middle. Schumacher gets to it and makes the play. Miami is on the board and will change pitchers here. Headed to the 5th. A mohawk or a faux hawk. I'm not sure what that is. Sam Dyson takes over for Jacob Turner.
Boy, this is where you'd love, and we've seen Dyson do it before. We've seen him come on and give Mike Redmond 3 innings, and you need him to restore order here and keep the Marlins in the game. And he's certainly going to get that opportunity.
And for Turner, a dramatic turn from his last 2 starts. Winning back-to-back starts. This one last just the 4 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs. Gave up 3 stolen bases. Devin Mesoraco. And then Ryan Ludwig and Skip Schumacher.
Jacob Turner's earned run average now up to 5.97, just a couple of ticks under 6.
Mesoraco, a single. Also struck out in the 3rd. Big day so far for Billy Hamilton and Jay Bruce. A pair of hits. Hamilton has scored a couple runs. The Marlins find themselves headed straight into the teeth of the National League Central race. Having seen the Reds here for 4 games. Ball club goes to Pittsburgh for 3, Cincinnati for 3, and then home against the Cardinals.
See, if you came to bark at the park and you got in your seat and you had a little chihuahua, and then you realized that guy was next to you,
you might want to check every now and again to make sure that your chihuahua was still sitting next to you.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, you're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we all know we'll see Andrew McCutchen, but one of their hottest hitters has been Josh Harrison. He's been on a tear. And if I remember, Josh Harrison got a big hit, either walk-off hit or walk-off home run against the Marlins last year in Pittsburgh.
2014 National League All-Star. Echeverria on to first. As Araujo is the first out. Checkers brings you Tuesday's tilt, and it's Brad Hand and Charlie Morton. Hand at 2-3, a 4.15 ERA. Morton, just a 5-10 record, but look at the earned run average, 3.54. That's Tuesday night. PNC will be there, one of the great ballparks in America.
Charlie Morton, he of the Roy Halladay type delivery.
Ryan Ludwig, RBI double in the third, struck out back in the second. Stanton is there and makes the catch.
We'll get to talk in Pittsburgh to a guy who's always just terrific to talk to about his ball club, Clint Hurdle.
It will be interesting to get Clint Hurdle's take on what's happened in Arizona. Paul Goldschmidt on, I guess it was Friday, on a pitch that was in that hit his hand and broke his hand. Apparently Arizona last night retaliated and drilled Andrew McCutchen in the 9th inning. And so they play today and finish off that weekend series.
I know it was after the fact.
Schumacher sneaks that one by McGee.
But Ernesto Frieri, the right-hander who hit Goldschmidt, apologized and said it certainly wasn't intentional. But that was after the fact. That's one of those situations the umpires are certainly aware of for today's game.
Down to Grown. Walked and stole the bag back in the 4th.
You know, it would be a tough matchup. It would be Christopher Negron facing Jacob deGrom.
You would like that. You would enjoy that, much like, what was the old, is it an old soft drink commercial where the guy said it was delightful? 7-Up.
Delectable. Delightful. Delicious.
Oh-2. Breaking ball, bouncer. Echeverria has had a busy and a very good day out at short. Dyson, a scoreless 5th, halfway through, 5-1 Reds. It's Christian Yelich bobblehead day, and the kids have come streaming in. They've got their bobbleheads. How does Christian Yelich feel about it? Our Geico quote.
What do you think of the bobblehead?
You know, it's pretty cool. You know, I guess they're giving them out to anybody these days if I got one. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
They give them out to anybody these days. Not true. But there is Yelich.
Got the feeling too, Rich, for Christian Yelich, it won't be the last.
It's an interesting spot there in that lineup. Did I see Julian Tavarez next to him? And then Hank Aaron. That's a real juxtaposition, isn't it? Let's see, who is he between?
Hank Aaron.
I think that's Julian Tavarez. You would think there would be like Rico Carty or somebody next to Henry Aaron, or Dusty Baker, or someone that played with Aaron.
Maybe a Tom House bobblehead.
I wonder what the most obscure bobblehead is in the bobblehead museum. Yelich takes a breaking ball, hits it to left.
I think it would be you and I would be the most obscure.
We're not in there. We
say if we have.
We never had one. If you place a deposit on season tickets for next year, you can start enjoying Marlins games this year for free. Order now, receive a bonus of 50% on your total deposit towards 2014 single game tickets. 1-877-Marlins, or go to marlins.com. Jordany Valdespie. This was a part of the order where Mike Leake really had to buckle down, and he did. That was in the third. Valdespie came up, bags loaded, nobody out. Marlins at that point were down 3-0. He hit a chopper to first. And here he hits a pop-up. Nicone makes the catch. Leake has 2 quick outs. Here comes Stanton.
And all of a sudden, because at one time it didn't, all of a sudden it looks like Mike Leake is going to be able to give Brian Price possibly 6 innings. Pitch count pretty manageable now at 83.
The Stanton at bat was painful as well. Bags were loaded, 1 out. And Leake struck Stanton out for the 2nd time today. Casey McGee would hit a ground ball up the middle to end the inning. And Miami had nothing to show for that bases loaded spot.
Such a big swing there for Stanton. The bat came out of his hands.
Leake works quickly. Stanton had to ask for time to get settled. One and 2. He got him again. 3 punch outs. Mike Leake holding on to a 5-1 lead. Bark at the park, Craig Minervini in the middle of both. Craig?
Rich, as you know, this started a long time ago when they were the Florida Marlins. So we have Champ here donning the Florida Marlins cap. And not to be outdone, Francis with the very fancy Miami scarf over there. Watch it. But they're good dogs. This one's a little microphone hog here. And Sandy Ross is with us from the Broward County Humane Society. And this is a great event. Over, what, about 350 dogs this year?
Yes, we had about 350 show up today.
How does it benefit you?
Well, we received the proceeds of all the dog tickets. 100% goes towards the Humane Society of Broward County. So it was really fun. You know, the dogs come out and they have a great time sitting out there with their partners watching the game.
And raising a lot of money, and the dogs are enjoying it too?
The dogs are having a great time. They're eating everything inside.
And here is Francis now before she was going after the microphone. It's not a good idea. Not with a bulldog. Next year, I mean, you've been doing this year after year, and it keeps benefiting you. People can adopt pets, too. Tell me about that.
Right. At the Humane Society, they can come and pick out a pet that they like and sit with a counselor and be able to adopt a pet.
And you have a walk coming up, too, in February.
Yes, we have the 25th Walk for the Animals on February 28, 2015 at the Huizenga Park in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County.
All right, this is Champ's favorite thing right here. Enjoying the ball game, guys. Bark at the park.
Having a great time.
Take it away.
Craig, did they slobber on your mic?
Yes, this is the natural thing with these type of dogs. Yeah, is this an American?
This is the default pose for the English Bulldog.
The English Bulldog.
Well, we have an extra
Yes.
a windscreen. You can replace that on your microphone.
That'll be used on our microphones in Pittsburgh, I think.
Zach Cozart strikes out. Sam Dyson has come in and restored order.
Yes, he has.
Jacob Turner, 4 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs. The walk to strike ratio for Turner was a real struggle. 65 pitches and just 34 of them strikes. Mike Leake has gone 5 innings, a run on 3 hits.
Yeah, these are not enviable situations for a pitcher in Dyson's case. You come in usually in a game where your club's down 4 or 5 runs, and usually you're asked upon to kind of keep the club in there, hang in there for 2 or 3 innings.
Marlins rotation, of course, a few days ago taking another hit with Henderson Alvarez on the disabled list. Inflammation in the shoulder. McGee cuts it off. Awkward throw. Won't get him. That was going to be a tough play whether it was McGee or Echeverria. Leak legs out a hit.
Yeah, with the momentum going to his left the way it was for Casey, he just couldn't get anything on the throw. And I don't think Etch would have made it. Etch might have barehanded that and tried to make that play.
Leak, a good athlete, runs pretty well. And he got down the line. So here's Hamilton. And if the Marlins are going to go into Cincinnati and have some success, they're going to have to do a better job of containing Billy Hamilton. He's 2 for 3 in this one. Scored 2 runs. Stolen a base. Little tapper. Dyson bobbles it. And Hamilton with his speed. And you got to know that Dyson knows it's Billy Hamilton. Just like Mike Dunn knew it was Billy Hamilton a couple nights ago when Hamilton bunted.
But you still have to realize the guy doesn't have a jetpack on his back. You got time. And even though yes, all those things, he realized he didn't have a play. You heard Mathis yelling 1-1. He didn't have a play at second base, but he tried to rush it at first, and it's going to be an error charge to Dyson.
Now Jay Bruce. Well, the Central sets up. Starting play today, Milwaukee in first, Pittsburgh a game and a half back, Cardinals 2 back, and these Reds sit 5.5 back. course, last year there were 3 teams that made the postseason from the Central. Reds and Pirates played in the wild card game. That was a game in Pittsburgh, and the Pirates won it to advance to the division series. Wild card standings right now in the National League have the Pirates and the Giants tied for that top spot in the wild card. St. Louis a half game, Atlanta a game and a half, the Reds 4 back, and Miami 5 back. That a Spuds McKenzie lookalike.
Put a pair of glasses on that dog, it looked like Chris Sabo.
Chris Sabo, that's if you're into Reds history, that's a good guy. Little goggles. Sabo, a third baseman.
His name came up the other night. Aaron Boone and Chris Sabo, the only Reds third baseman to hit 20 home runs and steal 20 or more bases.
Sabo on that World Championship team that beat Oakland? I think he was.
Pretty sure.
I think he was Lou Pinella's third baseman. He was an all-star in 1990 was Chris Sabo. All-star in 88 and 91. And he was on that team, Rookie of the Year in 1988. First and second. Got Leake at second. Hamilton with all that speed at first. Infield fly. McGee squeezes it. And Frazier comes up to face Dyson with 2 outs. In Tuesday's game, keep your eyes peeled for the watch, listen, and win poll trivia question. And we'll unveil the answer, jot it down, and when prompted, be the first caller to 940 wins on Wednesdays. Chance to win Marlins tickets, gear, and more. Go to foxsportsflorida.com for more details. Dave Van Horn and Glenn Geffner manning the microphones. Todd Frazier, a couple hits. Giants continue to tee off against the Mets. 8-0 now. Hunter Pence, Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, all with home runs.
And the Mets still just have 1 hit.
That's a Wilmer Flores hit. Etch in the hole, tough play. And Jones does a nice job to come off the bag and smother the throw. That'll be a hit.
Well, a lot of other base runners at first base, and Etch might have a play at second, but the base runner at first, remember, is Billy Hamilton. And so Etch filed that away, and he realized once he went into the hole, he wasn't going to have a shot at second base, so he had to try to get Frazier at first, and he just beats it out. And a good job, as you said, Rich, by Garrett Jones. You realize you're not going to get the out, so you don't want the ball to get by you with runners on. He came off the bag and kept it in front of him.
Reds have him loaded. There's 2 outs.
4 of the 5 Reds runs that have scored today have come with 2 out.
Five runs, a dozen hits now for Cincinnati. Miami's offensive woes continue. A run on 3 hits. And that's a base hit. That's going to chase home 2. Mesoraco, his second hit of the ball game, and Cincinnati stretches it to 7-1.
Well, that two-seamer stayed middle of the plate, didn't get a lot of action, and Mesoraco, who's having a solid year. A couple of base hits today, RBIs 53 and 54.
Ludwig, a 1-for-3 day, an RBI double. Right field, Stanton has room, and he's there to secure it. But Cincinnati puts 2 more up on a 7-1 lead. So far, a tough day for Miami, a big day for the Cincinnati Reds. 7-1 lead carried into the bottom of the 6th. Casey McGee, Mike Leake on the mound. He's got Garrett Jones and Marcell Ozuna behind him. Short start for Jacob Turner in this one. Turner just 4 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs. Sam Dyson taking over, and Dyson's given up 2 runs in 2 innings. Meanwhile, Leake vulnerable at times in this ball game. Marlins had some opportunities. He's given up just the 1 run. McGee walks, and here comes Garrett Jones. Leake seems to have pulled it together. He had a run of starts that were not that great.
I'm going to try to say something that's hard to say, but it's kind of an un-Leake-like outing for him with all the walks. 4th walk in this one today. That for Leake is a season high for him. Most he'd walked in a game this year was 3.
As we noted, his last 2 starts, which stretched almost 14 innings, he hadn't walked anybody. And that's, I think, maybe the most frustrating thing for Miami right now, is that Leake's not sharp. Miami's had opportunities and has just the 1 run.
But one thing, when you're Mike Leake and your offense puts up 7 runs,
life is good.
Yeah, it's a much better feeling. Boy, Garrett Jones would love one more chance at that same pitch.
Well, the 3rd inning was the big inning. Bags loaded, nobody out. Valdez-Bean, Stanton, and McGee coming up.
Well, Valdez-Bean makes contact. Good play by Frazier. The Reds almost turned 2, but they didn't. So bases were loaded. There was still just 1 out. And Leake made some great pitches. It's been a rough day for Giancarlo. That was the 2nd out. That was the 3rd out on that force out at second base.
Ozuna now has walked and struck out. There's a lot of places you can look up and down Miami's lineup for the lack of runs. Ozuna, a tough series. 7 strikeouts. And a 1 for 11. One and 2.
Now, that a real red wagon.
It is really a red wagon, and a great way to arrive and leave the ballpark. Let's get a bone on it. What a sweet ride that is.
Ah, nice bumper sticker.
Jealous dogs. Look at them. They're all looking. Don't hate.
Boy, Leake is really handled Giancarlo. He struck him out 3 times. Marcell Ozuna, he walked, and then he struck him out the last 2 times.
Echeverria's doubled. Bounced into a fielder's choice. To Echeverria. Travel day tomorrow. Marlins have gone, what is it, 17 straight without an off day?
17 straight.
And tomorrow is a travel day. So the Fish will head to Pittsburgh. Not the Fish that saved Pittsburgh. That was a basketball movie. On to first in time. And Echeverria is out.
I thought that was Wanda.
That's another movie. Reds in control, complete control right now. Group experience, and you can have it at Marlins Park. Party areas, suite rentals, special event nights, camera 12. You can experience Marlins baseball through a variety of group packages. 305-480-2523. Go to marlins.com/groups. And nice to look in at the Clevelander, which has been a busy spot during this Cincinnati series. It's busy right now. Sam Dyson. Charged with trying to hold the fort down after Jacob Turner went 4 innings and gave up the 5 runs. Dyson hurt his own cause with an error in the 6th on the Billy Hamilton ball. There they are. Look at the Clevelander. Looks like a Clevelander pizza box they got going on there. Looks that way. It's a Clevelander pizza.
That might hit the spot right now. Little pizza.
Pizza and a drink. Got pool and dancing. It's the Cleveland. Here's the 0-1. I know that we've called a couple of games from the Clevelander. I would like to call a game from the real Clevelander, or the original Clevelander, the iconic hotel club on South Beach.
Be tough to really get a feel of the game from there, but
well, that's my point. Schumacher is thrown out.
Might be a fun call.
Might be our last call.
just as long as we're there for last call.
I mean, wouldn't that be the ultimate watch party? We promote these watch parties and they're fun and people go and have a great time. Let's have a watch party at the Clevelander and let's go ourselves and call the game from there. They've grown 0 for 2. Reds have contributions all the way up and down their lineup. Even Mike Leake, their pitcher, has a hit.
Yeah, the only batter without a base hit is Christopher Negron, and he's walked, has stolen a base and scored a run.
J.J. Hoover in Cincinnati's bullpen. Breaking ball from Dyson. Speaking of the Central, Milwaukee and St. Louis are midway through. Negron swings and misses, and Milwaukee has a 2-0 lead in St. Louis. The Brewers on top in the Central. All right, Blue Ribbon panel has presented their choice tonight for the AT&T fan photo. Tweet your photo, hashtag it FLFanPhoto. Oh, look at that. That's from Juan. You love the batting helmet on the dog.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
And that dog obviously grandfathered in before the ear flaps were mandatory. Who was the last player not to have ear flaps?
For some reason, I want to say Tim Raines. And for some reason, I could be wrong, too.
Cozart, a 1 for 3. 2002, Tim Raines with the Marlins. I'm surprised Julio Franco wasn't the guy. Although he may have.
Well, and the thing, I think the reason I remembered Raines because Raines is a switch hitter, and he just had, had the same helmet. He could just go up there either way with the same helmet.
Aha! We're getting confirmation. Julio Franco was the last player eligible to wear it without ear flaps, but he chose not to. Did not know that. Our producer John Solser, who is all-knowing and all-seeing, has informed us that that helmet that Tim Raines wore as a Marlin is in Cooperstown as the last helmet without ear flaps. Echeverria out, just out. And a 1-2-3-7 for the Reds. Sunday, the Diamond Dash finishes things. It's been a busy day. Christian Yelich bobbleheads bark in the parks. And Yelich, of course, last night finished the ball game. AT&T Uverse Rewind in the 10th against San Lecure. Christian Yelich got an elevated breaking ball. Jeff Mathis scored. Marlins walked off for the 9th time this year. Miami, by the way, tied for the Major League lead in walk-off wins with the team they're going to play on Tuesday night, the Pirates. Baltimore, Boston, and the Angels have 8 each.
That's kind of a series that you say to our fans, you want to stay with us to the very end on those games. A couple of changes. Ramon Santiago comes in at third base, and we saw J.J. Hoover warming up in the bullpen. First time we've seen Hoover in this series.
So you would expect Santiago's in the 9 spot, and the pitcher Hoover is in the 7 spot. Oh, you never know. Not sure the youngster was all in on that one. Jeff Mathis. Productive day for Mathis. Of course, his double last night. Hoover backs him up with a fastball. Mathis finished the game in the 10th, leading off with that double. And then he opened this ball game with a double. It has RBI single. And he swings through a fastball.
Donovan Solano in the on-deck circle. He'll pinch hit for Dyson.
And Hoover misses away. So Mike Leake is lined up to even his record at 500. Dan Jennings in Miami's bullpen. And if this lead holds, the Reds will be a game over as they head out of town. The Marlins, it was what, 10 days ago, experiencing what it was like to win a 4-game series. It took 3 of 4 in Atlanta, and what a difference that made. Well, the Reds like they're headed to the same thing, winning a 4-game set on the road and taking 3 of 4.
Yeah, and all of a sudden too, the luster has kind of gone away from the home wins that the Marlins put together early in the season. If this lead holds up for Cincinnati, the Marlins will go to 31-28 at home, just 3 games over 500.
Granted, they are a much better road team than they were at this.
Yeah, it's really kind of reversed. So you hope that trend continues headed to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
Mathis takes a fastball up. Cincinnati is headed to Cleveland. Battle of Ohio for the next 4 days. 2 in Cleveland and then 2 in Cincinnati. Mathis strikes out. It's an interesting homestand for the Reds when the Marlins get there. It's 2 against Cleveland. Look at that, mini empanadas. That's a cool idea.
We got to get some of those up here.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'd go for that. Reds have Cleveland for 2, the Marlins a day off, and then Boston. You don't normally think of Boston and Cincinnati unless you think back to the World Series in the mid-70s. There's a chance we'll see Tony Perez in Cincinnati.
Yeah, we've talked about the Reds Hall of Fame inductees going in. That'd be a nice contingent. We could have a Joe Morgan sighting.
Solano to right. Caught there by Bruce.
I know when given a chance, Tony Perez always loves to head back to Cincinnati. Johnny Bench can be around. Don't know about Pete Rose. We made a few inquiries about that.
So Ron Oster. Who else is going in?
Ron Oster, Ken Griffey Jr., and Dave Parker.
Yelich with a 1-0 count. Crowd of 26,707 at the ballpark. For Bark at the Park in their own little section, 1,108 humans, $575. Ken Griffey Jr. played 9 years with the Reds. And hit 210 of his 630 home runs with them.
Could see Ken Griffey Sr., I would imagine. Maybe a David Concepcion. Maybe a Dan Dreesen. Left-handed line drive hitter.
Maybe Chris Sabo will be there.
Yeah, who knows? Keep our eye open. Yeah, no, you'll just be watching for Rosie Red, though.
You know me so well, Tommy Hutton. Zach Cozart throws out Yelich. 7-1.
Well, the Reds didn't waste much time. Base hit by Zach Cozart. He got things going, picking up a run early. Then it was Jay Bruce. He pokes one through the hole on the left side. Gives the Reds another run. Keep in mind, every one of these a different hitter. That's how they mix things up. Ryan Ludwig with a base hit. He has 5 RBIs in this series alone. Billy Hamilton, what a job he's had. He's had a great series and kind of has solidified that Rookie of the Year award. Another base hit up the middle. That one by Mesoraco, driving in 2. The Marlins were able to get one back. A base hit by Jeff Mathis. He swung a hot bat the last 2 games. But that's been it. There's that base hit by Mesoraco. I jumped the gun on that one. But he's been hot, and every one of those base hits that you saw, RBIs, were by a different hitter. So the Reds have really mixed it up, and there's one of the biggest Reds fans in South Florida.
Jason Jackson.
Friend of the show.
He also wants it known that he's a Marlins fan, too.
Yes.
He is very supportive of the Fish, but he is a Cincinnati guy, so the Reds are probably number 1, and the Marlins are 1A. In the Jackson household.
Yeah, went to high school in Cincy.
Always a great trip back to Cincinnati for Michael Hill.
We're going to investigate because we need to find out if Mike Hill and Jason Jackson somewhere along the line maybe played some high school ball against each other. Because we're figuring similar ages. We'll investigate that maybe on the plane flight to Pittsburgh.
Michael Hill would go on to star in 2 sports at Harvard, running back and a standout on the baseball team as well. Ramon Santiago fighting off some pitches here. Dan Jennings. This was a Jacob Turner start, and for Turner it was a rough one. The Reds scored and ran at will, it seemed. 5 runs, 3 stolen bases in 4 innings, gave up 9 hits. And Jennings with a good fastball, strike 3 called. Santiago is out number 1, Billy Hamilton, and then Jay Bruce. Sam Dyson 3 innings, 4 runs, or excuse me, 4 hits, 2 runs, and neither of them earned. Remember, it was a Dyson error on Billy Hamilton's comebacker that helped open the door on that inning.
How about Rich, excuse me, in this series, Billy Hamilton has scored 5 runs himself. The Marlins have scored 6 runs in the series.
The Astros right now a 5-1 lead over Toronto. Jake Marisnick is in center field, has a couple hits.
Good for him. He had not gotten any hits his first couple of games. So 2 for 2 with an RBI, and this one so far. I think one of the young kids that you get to know a little bit and you root for as you watch him now with the Astros. I think it's interesting they're playing the Toronto Blue Jays, the organization he was with before he became a Marlin.
McKee backhands it quickly across and gets Hamilton. Nice play on the corners. Well, there's Yelich. A little bit of a bobble on the bobblehead. Crowd of over 26,000 on hand. We'll have to do our homework and find out who the most obscure bobblehead is in the Bobblehead Museum. There are some mascots in there. I believe the swinging friar is in there. I would expect the racing
presidents are in there, I think.
I would expect the racing sausage is in there somewhere.
I don't know if the bucket's made it yet.
I don't know that the bucket has a bobblehead yet.
No.
So Tommy, you don't feel bad. You're on level footing with the bucket. Bruce fouls it back. It's 1-2. That Nationals-Phillies game is still tight, 1-0 in the 8th. In D.C. Nice hitting by Dan Jennings, who comes in, goes 1-2-3 in the 8th. And the Fish need 6 runs on Christian Yelich bobblehead day. There they are, Tommy, the Presidents. Just down the road. Yeah. Those are our guys. Chorizo.
Like chorizo there, yeah.
Hot dog, Polish. So there is hope, Tommy. I mean, if a sausage can make it, you can make it. Maybe I can slide in there next to you.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, wait a minute here. Now this is now they're showing all the broadcasters.
All the
that are
broadcasters.
Marty and Joe, Jeff and Jack. Those are the Rockies guys. How do the Rockies guys have
the
Rockies
guys have bobbleheads in our bobblehead display?
And those guys aren't even TV guys. Oh wow, Bill Brown and Jim DeShays. The Astros TV guys have bobbleheads.
Goodness.
Someone's just rubbing this in right now. Valdespina. Well, I would say right now that the Rockies radio guys are probably the most. Oh, Milo Hamilton, really? Chris
Rose and Kevin Millar. You got to be serious. Vince Scully, okay, that's fine.
Bob Uecker,
okay, that's.
Kinder and Murphy.
Yep.
Harry and White.
Those are fine.
John Miller. I'm sure he's not wearing pants. He's wearing shorts, right? Oh, White Sox guys.
Hawk and DJ.
Tom Hamilton. There's 3 Cleveland announcers that are in the bobblehead museum.
Maybe after 20 years together, it'll happen.
Well, this is year 10 together, and you've only been here, what, 17? 18.
The Minervini, but that looks real.
You know, I hate to tell you, Tommy, but I thought I spotted a Jay Randolph, Joe Angel bobblehead in there. Two coming to Stanton. It's been a long day for Stanton. He struck out 3 times, and he punches out a 4th time.
And every time it's a slider down and away. To the Reds' credit, they haven't made a mistake with it. They haven't hung it. Every one has been a perfect pitch, but every one they've got Giancarlo to chase.
J.J. Hoover. Mike Leake, 6 innings. A run on 3 hits. 5 strikeouts, 4 walks.
Well, with a full schedule next week for the Reds, I'm sure Brian Price, don't know if he'll try to get a 3rd inning out of Hoover, but I'm sure he's happy with the job he's done, knowing that they have games all next week.
From what we've seen of the Reds rotation and their bullpen, if they could just score a few runs, they can hang in that race. Of course, last year it was bobblehead museum. Sorry, no results from Minervini. Last year it was the Reds and the Pirates capturing the 2 wild card spots. Pirates won that game. Cardinals won the division. The team that's made itself known certainly and been on top of that division for a while now, the Milwaukee Brewers. A nice resurgence by Milwaukee. They continue to lead the division. And they continue to lead the Cardinals today 2-0 in St. Louis.
The Cardinals took care of the Brewers last night. Big night for Colton Wong. And a home run, had 3 hits.
It's a John Lackey start for the Cardinals. 5 2/3, 2 runs, 5 hits. Matt Garza on the hill for Milwaukee. Jones launches out of here. Garrett Jones. A 2-run shot.
Well, you hope this sets a little spark with Garrett Jones, gets things going for him as he gets ready to return back to Pittsburgh, where he had some successful years. That's a great swing. Pitch middle in. He stays on it, and an absolute bullet. Line drive home run. And for Garrett Jones, number 12 on the year.
7-3.
Now there's a ball that wouldn't have been out, though, in Pittsburgh.
It would not have climbed.
Wouldn't have been high enough.
21 feet.
Yeah.
And been able to get over that fence. Fence in right field at PNC. Jones's former home for a long time.
And at 21 feet for the to honor Roberto Clemente, war number 21.
Ozuna steps out, 1-1 the count. Well, remember the Marlins did have an enormous comeback on this homestand. Jonathan Broxton, maybe reluctantly so, is up. Scorcher to third. Santiago makes the play, and Hoover out of the inning, but not before Garrett Jones loses one. A 2-run shot and a 4-run game. Well, you don't see that every day at the ballpark. I don't know if he's trying out for the energy team or just burning off some energy himself. MLB.com at the ballpark mobile app. Great features throughout the year. Check in with that app. Earn free tickets. Download the free MLB.com at the ballpark app today. Jennings takes this game into the ninth. Todd Frazier, Devin Mesoraco, Brian Ludwig. Frazier a liner into center. How about a 4-hit day for the pride of Toms River, New Jersey? Marlins Live post game. Brought to you by Checkers. Troubles from Jacob Turner. And a long day for Giancarlo Stanton as well. So Mesoraco, a 2 for 4 with 2 RBI day. John Lackey making his first start as a Cardinal.
Kind of has an interesting, don't know all the details, reading a little bit about his contract for next year.
Well, it's a $500,000 club option, and it was originally in his contract that said if he missed a season, and it was a lucrative contract, so don't feel bad for him. And if he missed a season due to surgery, and I believe it was the 2012 year he missed with Tommy John surgery, that kicked in. So a team that paid him full boat on that season gets the bargain price of $500,000 on his last season.
So in essence, the Cardinals are getting a pretty good deal. And the Marlins will have a chance to see John Lackey.
Yes, they will. Breaking ball. Ozuna on a hop. Nice play, but he didn't catch it. Mesoraco and Frazier have back-to-back hits. Up comes Ludwig. Now it's time for our Just for Men, Just Mike Dunn profile. Most wins in a season by a reliever. You talked about it last night, Tommy Hutton, Rob Nen, Edward Mujica, and Mike Dunn.
Saw that note at the very bottom. Ironically, going into Pittsburgh, Elroy Face, 18 wins out of the bullpen.
Pittsburgh has just so much great baseball history to it, both the Pirates and the Negro Leagues. Some of the great stars that came out of Pittsburgh. Crawfords and the Grays were crosstown rivals. Is Josh Gibson a Pittsburgh guy? He was. Miami climbing within 7-3. The Reds threatening here. Ludwig, you got Schumacher. And then the pitcher spot.
Well, one thing the Reds have done in this series, and especially today, 15 hits today. That's the second most amount of hits they've gotten all year. They've come out of their offensive doldrums. Brian Price has to be pleased with that. A lot of singles, 14 singles, and just the Todd Frazier double in the 4th inning.
Tommy, can you tell me what the lightning capital of the U.S. is?
I always thought it was St. Petersburg.
You're correct. And in fact, today, because of a lightning strike, the lights went out at the Trop, and they had to stop the game in the 3rd between the Angels and the Rays. 19-minute delay before they were powered up again.
Talking about relief pitchers, and with Mike Dunn winning his 9th game, one of the most, I always thought, incredible seasons for a relief pitcher was in 1974. Right-hander Mike Marshall, Los Angeles Dodgers, won 15 games. He had a 2.42 ERA. Keep in mind, 106 games. He did not start a game. He was in 106 games and he threw over 200 innings. 208 in the third innings. And he won the Cy Young Award that year.
How long did his career last after that season?
Oh, he pitched his last year, 1981. I mean, he never had a year like that one. Yeah, he went on a few more years with the Dodgers, was in Atlanta, Texas, Minnesota. Earlier, he was with Montreal, saving games. So a unique guy. He had that big screwball, kind of a cut fastball.
I always remember him in 1974 coming into a ball game in the World Series and picking off Herb Washington.
Oh, he had a great move, too. Yeah, quick move to first.
Washington was the designated runner that Charlie Finley had. At least one of them. He had a stable of guys that he ran through there. McGee, found the speed. Miami turns it. Ludwig bounces into a double play. Jennings gets a pair of outs. And up comes Schumacher.
Nicely turned. Good job, too, by Valdespin. Throw was a little to his right, but he adjusted well.
Schumacher 1 for 3. And he pulls it first base side and foul. Of course, that was before the modern bullpen really evolved. Guys like Marshall, that was the heyday of Raleigh Fingers. He was, whether it was Oakland or San Diego or Milwaukee, Fingers was a guy that worked multiple innings as well. Gossage.
You know, nowadays for closers, when you look at their numbers, 74 games, 74 innings, maybe 75 innings. But you look at a guy like Raleigh Fingers, 65 games in 72, 111 innings. 62 games the next year, 126 innings.
I would guess the difference with those closers as opposed to 10, 15 years later is that all of those guys came up as starters through the minor leagues and ended up in the bullpen for one reason or another.
He had 9 straight years, Raleigh Fingers did, where he threw over 100 innings. And yes, he was a starter. I know that for a fact in high school because our high school team faced his team in a big game one year.
You mean at that time
he did not have the big mustache?
Not at 16?
No. That's good. Good shot there. Dad and son.
Schumacher. And Jennings gets him on a breaking ball. Mathis tags him out. And Jennings puts 2 scoreless innings in the book. Good to see. Miami needs 4 into the 9th. To by your South Florida Honda dealers and sfhondadealers.com. By Kaiser University. Kaiser University now offers degrees in sports management. Learn more at kaiseruniversity.edu. And by Florida Power and Light. Down 4, bottom 9. Jonathan Broxton. Out of Cincinnati's bullpen. The Reds bullpen has been good. Echeverria, Mathis, and probably Reed Johnson. Marlins need base runners, and they need them quickly here. Turning point of this ball game came when Miami had the bags loaded in a 3-0 Reds lead and nobody out and didn't get a run. From that point, it just slipped away. Edge clobbers one, right center field. Boy, did he blister that ball. Goes to the fence. Echeverria thinking 3, round second, on his way to third, and he's in there. Double and a triple for Echeverria. 16 doubles and 5 triples this year.
Just impressive for Echeverria. He has played a spectacular defensive series as well. The Broxton slider out over the plate. 30th multi-hit game of the year for Echeverria. He got that ball deep into that right center field gap. He knew he was going to end up at third.
If you had to pick a guy and say he's the most improved player for the Marlins from last year, is Echeverria your guy? I know Ozuna's made some big leaps.
Echeverria has made bigger leaps because he's really stayed much more consistent. Even the double, remember they tried to come in on him and he adjusted, pulled that double into left field.
Now Mathis. As the Marlins found in that amazing comeback earlier in this homestand, if you could just keep the line going, you can get there. That was a 4-run ninth on Monday to start the week. A 7-6 comeback win over Washington.
When you think about little things, you think about the Dyson error that allowed the Reds to tack on a couple of more unearned runs. Look at that inning. If not for that, it's a 5-3 game and you've got the tying run at the plate. You can't do that. We're instructed to do that as your broadcasters for the day.
Contractually obligated. But you're right. I mean, we talked about doing the little things right last night, and it was the difference in a 2-1 game. Mathis swings and misses. Today, the Reds have done a lot of big things right. Big hits, some big outs defensively when Miami was threatening early.
You couldn't have had a bigger sacrifice bunt than that of Reed Johnson's last night.
Johnson takes a strike in a sacrifice situation. Set it down perfectly, and it took a very nice play by Sam LeCure to get him.
That, of course, moved Mathis over to third, brought the infield in, and set the stage for Christian Yelich.
Two. Yelich, Valdespin, Stanton. All waiting to get swings here in the ninth. Triple by Echeverria, just Miami's 5th hit of the day. Johnson lost his bat and loses the battle. Broxton's 2nd strikeout. Miami down to the last out here.
Boy, after hanging that slider out over the plate to Echeverria, Broxton has gone with hard fastballs to strike out Mathis and then Reed Johnson.
Yelich, Miami down to the last out. Echeverria led the inning off with a triple. And quickly it's 0-2. Two coming. (7-3) Cincinnati. Broxton trying to put the finishing touches on this. And he does. He strikes out Yelich. And the Reds come into Miami and take 3 of 4. Trying to hang in the Central, trying to stay in the wild card without 2 of their big weapons, Votto and Phillips. Brian Price's Reds use starting pitching, bullpen, and today some big hits. Ryan Ludwig, Jay Bruce, Billy Hamilton, Todd Frazier. They all line up for a 7-3 win.